Hey, folks, I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff, with the appropriately named Jeff Thitoff Show here on Fantasy Sports. Thanks for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter @ThatHappens. Lots to talk about today. Start off with the NFL. And free agency hit, some interesting signings. The Kenneth Walker III of the Chiefs was a good one there. I think that's good for the Chiefs. But there's the Steelers pulled off a trade with the Colts for Michael Pittman and then signed him to a longer deal. Things like that are going on. Kenneth Gainwell from the Steelers goes to Tampa Bay. The Steelers pick up Rico Dowdle from Carolina. But one thing that did happen is Trey Hendrickson did not get signed in the first 2 days. More on that in a minute. The defensive end from Cincinnati, who's very accomplished. Meanwhile, the Ravens made that trade with the Raiders where they gave up 2 first-round picks this year and next year for Maxx Crosby. This year's pick's number 14. That's a pretty juicy pick there. If you can get it, Baltimore's usually not picking 14th. So they announced the deal. Then the Crosby comes in for his physical, and the Ravens decide this is too big of a risk and wouldn't pass him on the physical. Now, keep in mind, everything that happens in the NFL in this legal tampering period, Monday, Tuesday, and then today, Wednesday, until about 4 o'clock Eastern time, all those things that happen, those are just agreements. There's no contract signed yet. But the Raiders have agreements with people. The Ravens have agreements with people. Teams that liked Maxx Crosby, they also moved on maybe to other options. Look at the Cowboys getting Rashawn Gary from the Green Bay Packers. But some teams that were interested in him backed off and if they lost, I shouldn't say backed off. When they found out they were eliminated from getting Maxx Crosby, went other ways. When the Ravens failed Crosby's medical, they rescinded the deal. So as of right now, Crosby is back with the Raiders. Crosby will be on the Raiders. I think the Raiders are fine moving on from Crosby as well, but they're not getting nearly the haul they would have gotten, the haul that they could have gotten from the Ravens. So now what happens? There's a lot of conspiracies going on that when the Ravens found out that Hendrickson had lowered his price, they decided we can get Hendrickson and not give up 2 first-round picks. Ironically, the deal for Hendrickson, 4 years, $112 million or so, is roughly the same deal, the same money that Maxx Crosby is going to make. But in this case, you get a guy who's not flagged for injury, and you don't give him 2 first-round picks. There are many in the NFL, I believe, that think this is kind of a bad way to do business for the Baltimore Ravens. And I agree with that. If that's the case, it's not you can't prove it. There's no way to prove that the Ravens did that. And with any NFL physical, you can find something, a reason to fail somebody. Because although, yes, there's science involved in it. You've got to look at x-rays and whatnot, make diagnosis. But, I'm sure you heard the phrase, right? I'm going to go get a second opinion. Sometimes a second opinion is different than the first one. And so that's why you might see the Ravens doctor saying, no, this is not a good idea. Where another doctor would say, for another team, might say, yes, it's okay. He'll be fine. Crosby's surgeon said he's progressing well. Crosby expects to be ready by training camp. So it feels to me like the Ravens were dirty in this. And if so, it's going to have long and wide-ranging effects because teams might not want to deal with the Ravens because of something like this. They don't trust it. It was a big deal when Crosby got traded. He comes out, he's out in Baltimore, and he, makes a big thing. Thank you, Raider Nation. I'm excited to be a Raven, excited to this. Ravens Super Bowl odds changed dramatically. Odds winning the AFC, obviously win the AFC North. All those things improved. But the other part of this is now, you can't just undo this. You can only undo this. I'm sorry. You can only undo this. You can't. Now, the Ravens and Raiders, they both could say to the people that they were going to sign, could say things have changed. Not so much for the Ravens, but the Raiders could. The Raiders could tell that. Now, the Raiders said they're not going to do that. They're going to honor all those agreements. Good for the Raiders on this one. Can't believe I'm giving the Raiders praise on this one. But the Raiders said the Raiders said they will honor all those contracts. But what about teams that made alternate plans because Crosby wasn't available all of a sudden? So this is really going to screw the Raiders because now there are less teams in the market for an edge rusher than there were when free agency started. Edge rushers have been signed. On top of that, all these teams know that the Raiders want to get rid of him and that Crosby wants out. No one's going to offer anything close to what the Ravens offer. You might get a team offer like a 1 and a 3, or the Cowboys I know offered a 1 and a 2, but they've got the deal now with the Packers and getting Gary, so that's not going to put them into the Crosby sweepstake again. I wouldn't think, but who knows with Jerry Jones. So it looks bad for the Ravens, but like I said, the NFL can't do anything about it. They can't. Unless you find emails that say, "Hey, Hendrickson's out there. Let's flunk Maxx Crosby." Unless you get that, then you could obviously prove something then. But it's not going to happen. Like I say, it's all opinion. It's all opinions on this. And you might put his medical situation, his medical records, and his x-rays in front of 4 different doctors and get 4 different takes on it. So, again, bad look for the Ravens. But they won't be punished at all, other than being punished within the NFL by teams that maybe don't want to deal with them because they don't trust him. Other NFL news. I found this interesting. Not surprising, though. According to Adam Schefter, the NFL is now thinking about playing a game on Thanksgiving Eve this season, Wednesday, November 25th. There is no day of the week that is off limits to the NFL, except the Friday thing because of the whole legislation and because the rules about playing on Fridays during high school football season. Other than that, though, every other day is up for grabs. We're seeing Wednesday games. If it's around a holiday and they can do it, they will. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, whenever that falls, they're going to play games there. Wednesday, November 25th, night before Thanksgiving. It's smart. Look, it's smart because America starts the holiday at the end of the day Wednesday, if not sooner. At the end of the workday Wednesday, if not sooner. A lot of people take Wednesday off. A lot of schools are off on Wednesday. And so what a great time to have an NFL game, an NFL primetime game on Thanksgiving Eve. The NFL never ceases to amaze me on what lengths they will go to make sure they get that product out there in front of people all the time. And it's genius. I hope it doesn't come back to bite it in the ass if it gets overexposed. I don't think it will, at least in my lifetime, but smart for them. All right. World Baseball Classic talk. The United States lost 8-6 to Italy yesterday. Fell behind 8-0 early. Luckily, they rallied to score 6 runs because now they've got the Mexico-Italy game, and they need a couple things to happen. They need Italy to win the game, and they will get into the next round. They'll advance to the quarterfinals. If Italy wins the game against Mexico, or they need Mexico to score more than 5 runs in that game because of the tiebreakers, the way they work. If it's like it's runs allowed per outs recorded, something like that. So in the USA's got a good edge there, but so Mexico's got to score a lot of runs, or Italy's got to win. Those are the 2 easiest ways for the United States to get into the next round. But what's interesting about it is their manager, Mark DeRosa. Mark DeRosa was on the hot stove. Harold Reynolds was part of that. And this was before the game, and said that he's going to rest some of his hitters against Italy because they've already got their spot. They've already punched their ticket is what he said. Turned out to not be true. Mark DeRosa was wrong on that one. He ended up sitting Bryce Harper and Alex Bregman in this game against Italy. Like I said, fell by 8-0, lost 8-6. This is an unforgettable blunder by Mark DeRosa. How is it that, and it's not so much how is it that he didn't know? How is it that nobody told him beforehand? Like, how did nobody else, like, they didn't have a conversation after the Italy game? Like, hey, just so you know, or on Tuesday morning, or whatever, I'm sorry, on Tuesday morning, it's like, hey, look, if these things happen, we're not in. And so, but there's no discussion about that. There's nobody who pulls him aside and beforehand before he gets in front of the media, before he gets on the hot stove and says, hey, look, we're not out of the woods yet. This could still happen. I help coach kids in travel basketball, and I know, and I talk to the head coach all the time. I'm always in his ear like, hey, we need to win this game by 12 or whatever. Or, hey, if we don't beat this team, we're going to be here playing this team. If we beat this team, we're playing. I pay very close attention to 9-year-old travel basketball, third grade travel basketball. And I make sure, one of my duties as an assistant coach is to make sure the head coach knows everything. Like, hey, just so you know, going into this game, this, whatever it is. And I can't believe the United States coaching staff, USA Baseball's administrative staff or whatever, the management, the leaders, no one talked to Mark DeRosa about this before he went and did media. They should have done that. That's a mistake on Major League Baseball's part, on Team USA Baseball's part, and a huge mistake by Mark DeRosa. All right, folks, let's talk NBA. And a very polarizing thing happened in the NBA last night. That usually, if somebody does something very significant, it's rewarded, it's applauded, it's considered great. Bam Adebayo scored 83 points last night for the Miami Heat in a blowout win over the Washington Wizards. And he was 36 out of 43 from the free throw line, 28-43 from the field, made 7 3-pointers. Broke Kobe Bryant's, well, I shouldn't say broke it. He moved into second place all time in games with, in scoring in one game. His 83 eclipsed Kobe's 81. And there are a lot of different opinions going on about this, which I find fascinating. And I think part of the reason is because of the person that Bam passed. Let me give you some more of the insight on this. The Wizards were fouling other Heat players down the stretch to try to make sure Bam did not get past 81. In turn, the Heat committed intentional fouls to try to get the ball back. That was all going on in the fourth quarter. So that certainly contributed to Bam's night. If Bam had broken, say the first place guy with 81 points, say it was like an older player, say it was like Walt Bellamy. Would people are upset about it because they're saying, oh, it shouldn't count. It's not, it's like an asterisk type record. There's a faction of people, fans that are saying this is like Michael Strahan and Brett Favre. When Favre fell on purpose, Strahan got the sack record. It's not the real sack record. But this also is not a record. It's just second place on the list. It's not like you pass Wilt Chamberlain. Others are saying, hey, look, 83 points is 83 points. Get to the line 43 times. NBA record, 36 makes, NBA record. And I think it's the reason the one side is saying, oh, this is bullshit. This shouldn't count. Look what they did. Look how they got it. Those people are probably more about it being Kobe's record, Kobe's number that was passed. Again, not a record. I keep saying a record. It's not a record. 100 points is the record. 100 points is going to be the record. I don't think anybody will score over 100 unless you have a fraudulent type performance where it's like set out ahead of time you're going to do that. So the way I look at it is you can't take your emotion out of it. And I enjoyed the fact that Kobe was the only other NBA player over 80 in a game. Bam got it. But to me, it kind of feels like, and I'm going to go way extreme here, so buckle up. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. But I think it's kind of the same vibe or similar vibe when Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's career home run record. Hank Aaron was so beloved and just an outstanding human being. And seeing Barry Bonds break his record, and he did end up not breaking by much because he ended up out of baseball soon thereafter. But me personally, as I don't know, short-sighted as it may be, as I still consider Hank Aaron to be the home run king because Barry Bonds did it under very suspicious circumstances. Bam Adebayo did not do that. It was not cheating. But I also don't know if it was pure, if that makes sense. And he did. He did pass a legend, and somebody who is so respected, so admired, so revered in NBA history. And Bam isn't. Not a knock on Bam. I'm not saying people should hate Bam. Bam's a fine player, but he's not Kobe. So, like I said, I wonder if there was a different player. Say it was Alex English from the 80s of the Denver Nuggets. Say he had 81, and Bam beat the record the way he did with the way that game ended. Would NBA fans be up in arms? There's not as much affection for Alex English. You know, and if it was Larry Bird, you might see that. If it were Jordan, you might see that, like you see with Kobe. But if it was anybody like on Bam's level that he passed, Bam's previous career high, I think, was 41, and his second highest scoring game ever was 38. So 79 points in the two games, his two highest scoring games of all time, and he got 83 in this one. So I recognize he got 83. Okay, you got 83. There's no asterisk necessary. He got 83. But it's not something I'm like really excited about. Like, oh my gosh, he got 83. It doesn't affect me that way because of the way it went down and the fact that he beat Kobe. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, by the way, he tied the record set by Wilt Chamberlain by getting more than 20 points in his 126th consecutive game, tying Wilt Chamberlain. That's an amazing mark right there. That's incredible. He's able to do that. And we talk anytime you talk about anything with Wilt, anything about Wilt, it's you're going to have anytime you do anything that's mentioned with Wilt Chamberlain, it's pretty significant in the NBA and in basketball history. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he actually tied a record by Wilt Chamberlain. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander obviously plays the Oklahoma City Thunder by scoring at least 20 points in his 126th consecutive game earlier this week. Tomorrow, on Thursday, he will have a chance to break the record when they take on the Boston Celtics. I don't think this is getting talked about enough. This is pretty huge. Now, granted, Wilt isn't most scoring records, most even rebounding records in the NBA, be it consecutive this or high game this or most these, whatever it is. Usually you'll see Wilt, scattered throughout that. And this is no different. He's got the most games now tied with SGA, but he also has like the third most games now as well, consecutive scoring streak. That's what Wilt Chamberlain has. But I wonder how much that'll get talked about by SGA. It's a huge streak. I mean, it used to be made a big deal of if somebody had double digits in so many consecutive games. They would sometimes be really high numbers for elite players like LeBron or Jordan or people like that. But to score 20 or more in 126 straight games, that's a significant accomplishment. As a matter of fact, I would put that higher on my list of impressive accomplishments than Bam's 83 last night. I think SGA is going, if he gets to 127, in fact, even 126 is already higher than that, but get to 127, break Wilt's record there, that's more significant to me, more impressive to me than Bam scoring 83. One more piece I want to get to on the NBA. Steve Kerr came out and said he wanted the NBA season, the NBA schedule, to be about 10 games fewer than it is. Knock it down to about 72. I know Steve Kerr played a lot he played a lot of games when he was playing. He didn't have like these load management days. It wasn't a thing back then. Plus, he didn't play nearly as many minutes as some of these stars are playing now. But for a long time, I didn't want to see the NBA season reduced. I'm okay with it now. If it cuts back on these load management days, if there's a way, but I'm not convinced it will. But if it does, then I like the idea. If you're telling me instead of a guy playing 60 out of 82 games, he's going to play 65 out of 72, I'll take it. Because the load management thing is that's really bad for the NBA's fans. Is it bad for the NBA as an organization, as a company? No. As a business, no. It's bad for fans, though. It's unfair to the fans who might buy tickets in advance for games, and then a guy sits out. If it's an injury, that's one thing. But if you bought a ticket, that's why I think like Jordan and Kobe always wanted to play every game because they didn't know if there was a kid there for the first time and maybe the only time to watch them play. They felt a sense of duty on that one. These NBA players don't necessarily have that same view. And I understand load management. I understand why it happens. I do understand why it happens. To extend your career, and also to, if you extend your career, you talk about extending by, if you're good, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. LeBron James plays a lot of games every single year. When you look at his career, if you include playoffs, and what this guy's played like 24 seasons, 25 seasons almost already. If you include playoffs, he's played about that many seasons. Every year, he has a longer season than most. And they come back right away again after that. And they all start at the same time. So there are certain players that I understand why. Some players don't understand why they think they need to have the load management and take the days off. But anyway, I think the NBA, if they reduce the schedule, hopefully that will solve a big chunk of that problem. NCAA basketball winding down on both the men's and women's sides. We've got conference championship week this week for the men's, and the women's were last week. And we'll find out on Sunday how the bracket plays out with all 68 teams. First thing I want to say is that there's talk about expanding the tournament. I honestly don't care. The regular season is already meaningless for the most part. There's all these great matchups in November and December. I rarely watch any of those start to finish because football's still going on. If I have an option, I'm going to watch football instead of that. So it's not that significant for me if they do decide to expand the tournament. I'm still going to watch the tournament when I want to watch it. That's not going to change. Just because they add another round to it or whatever, if I don't want to watch it, I won't. And like I said, the regular season's already watered down so much in college basketball. But every time they've expanded it, there's been a lot of criticism. When they went to like 48, way back when in the 80s, it was like, 48 team tournaments, way too many. Because it used to be, there was a time back early when in the NCAA tournament, only the Big Ten champion got in from the conference. So they go to 48. Then I think the next step was 54. And it was, this is way too many, or 52, maybe it was 52. This is way too many teams. Can't have this many. And then it got to the 64. Too much. Then 68. We haven't stopped watching. We haven't stopped filling out brackets. So I do believe they will expand it. I don't know how big. Like I said, it won't change my viewing habits necessarily. I mean, if I want to watch a game, I'll watch the game. But it's not like I'm going to have this pitchfork out there rallying against. I'm not going to go out and riot and loot because they expand the NCAA tournament. But conference championship week is here. Now, it's a great week. And I always find it interesting to see because, when you get to the NCAA tournament, you get a day off between games, or after your first two games, and you get like damn near a week off. And in the conference tournaments, it's every day you're playing if you keep winning. It's a bigger test of your bench strength, a bigger test of your the shape your team's in, like physically, and it is such a grind. One team that I've loved all year long that is not in a good spot now is Duke. Duke has had, I've loved watching Duke play this year. They blow some teams out. They're a solid team, top to bottom. They play great defense. They do all those things. But Duke lost their starting point guard, Caleb Foster. He got hurt, suffered a fractured foot, and in all likelihood, he's out for the rest of the year, which is bad for them. Also, the sophomore center, Patrick Gungba, will miss the entire ACC tournament, also a foot injury. Not sure if he will be able to play in the NCAA tournament or not, but those are two key players. Now, I know Gunga's been out for a while, so it's not like he just got hurt again, but like he's missed some time already. But these are two guys that would start on this team. And I love Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer should be the National Player of the Year in my mind. But the fact that they're going into the ACC tournament now, missing two guys who should be starting, and likely going to the NCAA tournament without two guys who are starting, that's big. I consider Duke to be one of the favorite, in my opinion, if that matters, the favorite in the NCAA tournament this year in March Madness. And now I've got to reconsider. Michigan looks damn good. Arizona's consistently solid. Florida's come on late. So as much as I thought I'd be going chalk in a lot of these, and again, brackets not out yet. We'll see what happens on Sunday night when that actually comes to fruition. But Duke's injuries here are making me pause. I want to see how they do in the ACC tournament without both these guys and see if they can still function as smoothly as they did when those guys were in the lineup. Caleb Foster's a big part of this team. Very, very important. They'll probably still end up with the number 1 overall seed, maybe number 2, depending on how the conference tournaments play out. But I'm telling you, I hate saying this. Michigan might be the favorite now. A Big Ten team hasn't won the Natty in a long time, since Michigan State did it back in like 2000, I want to say. Is that right? 2000? So for the conference, it'd be cool. As a Buckeye fan, being Michigan, that would suck. I want to touch on something else with college sports. It was announced that there's going to be games at London's Wembley Stadium for the next 3 years. On September 19th this year, it'll be Arizona State and Kansas from the Big 12. So it'll be a conference game. It is the first time 2 college teams have played in England since 1988. And here is my issue with it. I'm tired of taking the games overseas. Meaningful games overseas. Kansas fans, Arizona State fans, they should be able to watch their teams in their home stadiums. Not have to travel to England to watch. Arizona State was, 8-5 last year. Kansas is 5-7. I think they were 5-7 the year before that as well. But if you want to do it, if you want to play games over, do exhibition games in the NFL. I don't like the NFL going over there either. I don't like Major League Baseball playing games overseas for regular season games. Exhibitions, fine. But I don't want to see regular season games, conference games, which are damn important in college football, home games that teams lose, which is damn important in baseball and the NFL. So if you're going to tell me all these things are important, conference games are important. Having home field, important in those games. Actually, it's not, because we're going to play it in England. Same thing with Major League Baseball and the NFL. Teams lose home games, and they play the entire season to try to get home field advantage in their respective playoffs. It's a disservice to the team and the fans. What that tells me is that winning's not the most important thing. Exposure is more important. That bothers me. If winning is the most important thing, I want my home games at home. Rams and 49ers are playing, I think, in Australia this year is where it is. That's a big-time conference game in a very competitive division where you've got the defending Super Bowl champion, you've got the Rams who lost in the NFC Championship game, you got the 49ers who are a viable option every single year. That's going to be the toughest division top to bottom of the NFL, and you're taking 2 of the teams that are in that mix. If I'm Seattle, I'm like, this is a great idea. I love it. Making these teams travel across the world to play a division game where one of them's going to lose a home game. If I'm Seattle, this is great news for me. Advantage Seahawks on this one. Maybe in the minority. I don't know. Follow me on Twitter at That Happens. Let me know if you agree with that or not. One more thing I want to get to, baseball related. Hunter Green for the Cincinnati Reds, their stud pitcher. I'm a Reds fan. I love Hunter Green. Put up great numbers in his years there. He is going to be out until July, it looks like. He's having an arthroscopic procedure, move bone chips from his right elbow. Hunter Green has had a series of injuries. Going back to 2022, right shoulder strain. 2023, right hip injury. 2024, elbow soreness. 2025, right groin stain. 2026, the elbow surgery now. Last 5 years, he spent time on the injured list all year long. And it's not the same injury. It's not like it's my shoulder, it's my shoulder, it's my shoulder, it's my shoulder. It's a shoulder, it's a hip, it's an elbow, it's a groin, and now it's an elbow again. At some point, you have to accept the fact that maybe Hunter Green will never be able to pitch a full season. And that's too bad. Incredible talent. And I'm not saying the Reds should trade him. I'm not saying that at all. But you can't count on Hunter Green. And that's too bad because he is so damn talented. And he really is the ace of this staff, at least for now. But, will he end up being the ace, 2 years from now? I don't know. It's tough for Reds fans who got it, again, a sniff of the playoffs last year. And this year now they're going to be without their most talented starting pitcher until July at the earliest. So we'll keep an eye on that. Folks, I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff. This has been the Jeff Thitoff Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter, @ThatHappens. We will talk again soon.